So this was an awesome story and from TD Bank here, and also I saw a tool sprawl in there, which is the perfect sort of segue to this section of using Dynatrace actually to drive cost optimization. Because you want to innovate, and you all know that innovation costs money, so you have to figure out where do you get that money for that innovation. And the reason why also I am on the point of optimization, cost optimization up here is that I, as CTO, I suffer myself from tool sprawl in my team. CNCF's 1,000+ tools is just too many for the teams. They pick up everything. So I have every day also on my own, keep reducing. And actually having a platform is helping here a ton. And because this allows, for instance, before we had the new Dynatrace with Grail and App Engine, we had many do-it-yourself tools that integrated securities and did some other import tasks. We shifted all that onto the platform so that we have the compliance issue solved, privacy is now smooth, and it's much easier to maintain than before, because the cost of tool sprawl is actually not just the tool itself, but actually the consistency, the collaboration issue that if you have too many tools. And I've spoken to customers who had previously over 100 tools just for a domain like security or even in observability. So this is here a huge potential. But let's move on to the next potential of cost optimization. And this is, we are working very closely with Matthias, who is our Chief Customer Officer. And what you might not know is he is actually responsible for the budgets of our hyperscaler use. So obviously, if the software that I am building is using too much cloud services, then he is suffering. So he has lots of interest to slap my fingers on that. So, but we are collaborating actually pretty well.
Still.
Let's see what happens later. But Matthias, help us understand, how do you go about with the process of actually optimizing the cloud cost?
Yeah, thank you, Bernd. So for me as Chief Customer Officer, my whole interest is that we deliver great customer experience and actually a health of our platform, great health. So that's always a big balance or battle between being safe in terms of provisioning and infrastructure, but also being very efficient. Because actually every dollar we spend on cloud is a dollar less we can spend on innovation or customer experience. And I would say we have gone through 4 phases or dimensions of that, but let's dig a little bit deeper into that. So for the first phase, I call it the financial optimization. I mean, that's probably everybody in the room is doing that. You optimize your contracts with the hyperscaler, you optimize your ROI, saving plan coverage, you optimize your resource usage. So there's a lot of means the hyperscaler gives you directly at hand to optimize for that. But in addition, we use Dynatrace to ingest our daily consumption actually, to automate savings plans allocations to be cost effective, and give our teams across devs, ops, across various teams, insights in how they use cloud. So that transparency helps as well. And then, of course, we go further and look at underutilized machines. Sometimes developers just let stuff run. Sometimes we over-provision. So there's always a good gain in optimizing those things, which then actually leads to a next phase, what I'm calling the architectural optimization. So this is about using Dynatrace and the insights into those workloads, into those dependencies. And one example is we use a lot of EBS. And the question is, why does EBS grow so fast? And how does that relate to our architecture? So using DQL, instrumentation, notebooks, we were figuring out about tweaks in our deployment, as well as automated disk resizings on Kafka, which again helped us to save a couple of $1 million.
So This is, I think, exactly where the point is, that you went far beyond just looking at, okay, various architectural issues, but actually figured out more smarter approaches. So being a data-driven organization, so you leverage all the data to make it then smarter in collaboration with us to actually orchestrate, right, then our systems to save cost.
Yeah, that's true, Bernd. And if you look back on the last 12 months, is when we started to deploy Grail, in dozens of hyperscaler locations, we actually, used more predictive AI from our Davis capabilities to make our orchestration even smarter. And that helped us actually in the first 8 weeks of the first deployments to reduce our footprint, our usage by 50%, which was a really significant step for us. But then also as a side note, sometimes, things happen. So we had a glitch in the orchestration automation. And then in a new Grail region, we deployed 150 Kubernetes worker nodes, fully automated, of course. So traditionally, we might have found that randomly, or maybe we would even have purchased savings plans to optimize for that incremental cost, which, of course, that cost was not necessary. So again, using our technology, digging deep into that, we could mitigate that within 48 hours actually. Again, stopping to waste money we can use for innovation and customer experience.
Yeah, and then there's one additional benefit actually, because when you save cloud cost, you actually do something good to all your young engineers, because young engineers care about climate change more than everyone else, and this is why they also want to actually move ahead and reduce also the cloud usage just from the climate perspective. So how do we help here, Matthias?
No, absolutely right. And I believe every large organization has this challenge to optimize for carbon. I mean, that's a theme which is going up and down. But I would prefer to stop talking about ourselves at this moment and bring somebody on stage from a large customer who partnered with us actually on this journey to optimize for carbon and sustainability. So please welcome Bernd from Lloyds Banking. Kevin, it's such a pleasure to have you here, that you're ready to share some more insights on your journey to optimize for sustainability. So what makes sustainability such a big thing for you and Lloyds?
I'm sure most people are aware of the target to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees. Equally, I'm sure there's many people here that have already seen the impact of climate change. Over the last few years, we've seen some real extreme weather conditions, resulting in wildfires all around the globe. In the UK, especially, we're now seeing sort of annual heat waves, and in recent weeks, we've seen some extreme flooding events. So, I mean, everyone has a part to play. Lloyds Banking Group are taking sustainability very seriously, and we've made some significant commitments to reduce carbon emissions, and they include achieve net zero carbon operations and reduce our direct carbon emissions by at least 75% by 2030, reduce our total energy consumption by 50% by 2030, and we also had another commitment, thank you. Thank you. And we also had another commitment to switch to 100% renewable energy, which we've already met.
So how does that affect you in technology then?
We have a very large, like most financial institutions, we have a very large and complex IT ecosystem. We utilize thousands of servers across traditional data centers and hybrid cloud environments. The usage of our mobile banking and online applications last year grew by 14%. So it's critical that we have observability of our energy consumption and CO2 footprint to monitor the impact of this growth over time. There is a saying or a mantra that I'm sure Klaus and the Dynatrace team have heard many times: you can't manage what you can't measure.
So what is it that you're doing actually?
So we're optimizing on three levels. Firstly, the data center. Secondly, at host level. And thirdly, at the application level. So at the data center level, we're consolidating our rather kind of aging data centers into a much more modern pair. They've been built from the ground up with sustainability and efficiency in mind, so they're more efficient in every aspect. On the host level, as you mentioned earlier, we're identifying underutilized infrastructure and looking at optimization options, which is mainly right-sizing. But it's very important as we do this, we find that sweet spot. We can't risk the stability or the performance of the services. So again, being able to observe how reducing energy consumption may relate to resilience is critical.
And what is it on the third level you're doing?
So on the third level, this is the exciting bit. Over the last 6 months, we've been adopting what we call green coding principles. What this means is we are optimizing the source code of our applications. And we do that to run more energy efficiently in terms of CPU cycles and memory utilization. We'll be introducing quality gates for software and development and testing stages to ensure that any new code is as efficient as possible and designed and written in the most efficient language for each use case. The desire is to move to a more efficient code, like Golang, but something you can't do overnight. Again, all of this has to be done considering the stability and performance of our services and applications. And a key enabler of this approach is to use Dynatrace to compare a baseline CO2 measurement of our application's code before and after each green coding change.
And did you already achieve some results doing green coding?
I'm very happy to say that we did. We performed a proof of concept on a single API. And when we measured end-to-end and aggregated out, we saw a carbon reduction of around 2 tons of CO2 per year. In the grander scheme of things, that doesn't sound like a lot. But if we apply similar optimization across all of our APIs, we're hoping that should give us some significant CO2.
So this sounds like a fun fact. In performance optimization, you're hunting down milliseconds. And then on carbon optimization, you're aiming for grams.
Absolutely. At that macro level, that's why it's important to have that end-to-end view from observability and resource consumption across the life cycle. In the end, the real impact is in production. In the example I just gave, in our development environment, we saw a reduction of just 75 grams. But when you have 21 million active customers and 20 million average logons per day, when you aggregate that out across a year, that's how we got to the 2 tons.
Amazing. So Kevin, what are your next steps then?
So we are creating something called Green Coding in a Box, which is essentially a self-serve package which will provide the capability to baseline energy consumption and CO2 impact at code level. This will contribute to building up a set of green coding rules that our engineering community can then use to measure the success of the changes as we roll them out in 2024. And we'll also continue working with Klaus and the Dynatrace team. We've worked with them really well over the last 6 months to develop the Carbon App capabilities. There are some suggestions that we made last year that are already in the roadmap, and we really want that to continue.
Oh, that's so great. Hey, thank you, Kevin, for these big insights into what you're doing here. And congratulations on your journey to become an even more sustainable company in the future. Thank you so much.
Cheers, Matthias.